Welcome to VisaWatch, Episode 3. Last episode, I told you a Caribbean nation gave its citizens a year to get fingerprinted. This week's info is smaller, but more useful. A Colombian immigration alert went out recently, and it's not the kind of thing that makes headlines, but it can ruin a trip. We'll get to what it says in a minute. That's this week's VisaWatch. 4 quick hits, 1 story, and a gut check on being a good guest. Guest check. Let's go. Thailand. Thailand approved cutting its visa-free stay from 60 down to 30 days for travelers from more than 90 countries. Here's the twist, as of right now, it hasn't happened yet. The 60-day rule is still the rule until it hits the Royal Gazette. This is a coming soon, not yet story, which is almost more useful than a done deal, because it gives you a window to plan around before the door actually closes. Enjoy the bureaucratic limbo while it lasts. It's the only time government lag works in your favor. Spain. Spain's golden visa route closed back in April of 2025, but this past May, the ministry made it official in the most boring possible way, confirming that 0 new applications have been accepted in over a year. I studied in Salamanca years ago, long before any of this investment visa stuff ever existed. I was mostly invested in chocolate y churros. No drama here, just the government closing the book on a program thousands of people used to buy their way into Shenzhen mobility. If you're still seeing Spain Golden Visa content floating around presenting it as an option, it's stale. The door's closed and no amount of glossy PDF brochures is gonna reopen it. Georgia. A follow-up. Remember 2 weeks ago when I told you Georgia's work permit for remote workers was in a gray area? Some immigration firms are now saying flatly that remote workers serving only foreign clients are exempt from Georgia's labor migration law. Other firms, just as current, are still calling that same exemption unconfirmed. So the news is no news, and I'm not going to manufacture one just to give this a clean ending. We'll keep an eye on it. If you're in Georgia on remote income, this is still not the week to assume. Colombia. And here's the Colombian story from the top of the show. As of today, immigration alerts are flagging processing delays and increased scrutiny on Colombian work visa applications. No new law here, just a practical warning that things are moving slower and applications are getting a harder look than usual. Anyone who sat in a Beetlejuice purgatory, the Colombian immigration office, watching the ticker number that never seems to move, already knows what increased security looks like in practice. If you're filing a Colombian work visa right now, build an extra runway and don't book anything non-refundable around your expected approval date. Mexico. I lived in Oaxaca for a stretch, and it remains one of my favorite places I've ever lived. The food, the art, the grasshoppers, if you know, you know. It's not the resort version of Mexico. It's the early morning smells from the market. It's a mezcal culture that makes tequila look like training wheels. There was a mezcaleria I used to frequent, run by a guy named Beto, who certainly wasn't just the owner, he was a client. Measured everything in copitas, these small clay cups. Oaxaca is always very famous for artisan stuff like rugs and pottery, graphic arts. But no 2 of these copitas were the same size, no measuring line, nothing standardized. I asked him once how he knew when the copita was full. He looked at me like I'd ask him how he knew the sky was blue. Se ve. You just see it. He just saw it through squinted eyes for 200 years. I bring that up because Mexico's visa income math runs on that same kind of energy, just with more paperwork attached. It's called the UMA, Unidad de Medida y Actualización, a government measuring unit, not minimum wage this time, but it's used to calculate the income threshold for residency. For 2026, that works out to roughly $4,200 to $4,500 USD monthly income, or around $70K to $74,000 sitting in savings in the bank for the last 12 months. Only one of those, not both. It's the same lesson as always. Consulates still have real discretion in how they apply that number. The Guadalajara consulate and the one in your home city might not read the same figure identically. Same UMA, different copita. Call your specific consulate you're applying through. Don't trust a number you found on a blog, including this one. The visa runs up to 4 years, renewable, and doesn't by default authorize you to work for a Mexican employer, only to live on income outside the country. After 4 years, you're eligible to convert to permanent residency. And Mexico's citizen track is faster than most people assume. Compared to Colombia's numbers we've covered the past few episodes, Mexico's income bar is meaningfully higher on a monthly path, but the savings path is more forgiving than you'd expect from a country with this much long-term expat infrastructure infrastructure already built. If Colombia's paperwork Ouroboros scares you off, Mexico's bureaucracy has had a lot longer to get efficient, if not exactly fast. Andale arriba. Get comfortable with the UMA math before your consulate appointment, not during it. Showing up with a number based on old figures is one of the most common reasons applications stall. And if a consulate officer tells you that something doesn't match what you've seen online, you gotta trust the officer. Se ve, you just see it. Good guest, bad guest. Here at EdwardEffect and in my newsletter, Texas Nomad, we talk a lot about how it's truly a privilege to be a guest in another country. Treating locals with respect is part of the philosophy. We're not one of those live like a king for cheap kind of tribes. In Bali, 2 guys running a nomad group got banned from re-entering Indonesia after locals reported the group's application process approved foreigners instantly while rejecting locals with Indonesian names and phone numbers. An official there called it a state within a state. That's not good. The group apologized, blamed an automated system, and shut it down. But they've worn out their welcome. This is the classic mistake of going somewhere by choice and then creating your own microcosm of home within another culture. You can bring things like these trendy run clubs, but include locals. It'll enrich the experience so much more. Another one, in Bangkok, a group of student tourists got loud on public transpo. A local asked them to settle down and it went bad. They apologized afterwards. I'm not gonna pretend I was a perfect guest at that age. As I said, I studied abroad in Salamanca and had everyone carried a camera in their pocket. I can tell you plenty of my own antics from that trip never made it past the group chat, purely because there was no group chat. There was no camera. But that's part of being young. The difference is what happens after. The Italian students apologized. Some have wondered if there was sincerity in the apology, but moving on. You're a guest wherever you go. Doesn't matter how much you're spending, what visa you're on, if you flew in on your G6 or rode in on the chicken bus. The whole idea behind this channel is designing, not escaping. And design starts with respecting the place you've chosen. That's true whether you're there for 4 days or 4 years. That's this week's report. Remember, rules like this shift fast and vary by nationality. Always confirm with the official consulate site or an immigration attorney before you file. And see you next week.